Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Flower Cardian Yugioh deck profile for July 2024. The Flower Cardians are a very interesting synchro deck that focus on getting out a bunch of the main deck Flower Cardian monsters, adjusting their level to level 2, and then being able to summon the wide variety of synchro monsters that we have for the Flower Cardian monsters, which then also focus on the draw aspect of the Flower Cardian deck as a whole, being able to have draw effects on the main deck Flower Cardian monsters when you summon them out, when you tribute them, and then have these additional effects implemented into the synchro monsters we have as well for the deck. So very happy with the updates to the deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck, Flower Cardian monsters, running 3 copies of Flower Cardian Pine. I would say Pine helps to start off a good majority of your plays in the deck. If it's normal summon, draw 1 card, show it, then send it to the graveyard unless it's a Flower Cardian monster. You can only use this effect of Pine once per turn. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card is in your possession destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, draw 1 card. So you have more draw power off of this Flower Cardian, but being the level 1 normal summonable Flower Cardian monster, it's the start for a good majority of your other Flower Cardian summons, including our Flower Cardian Zebra Grass. While you control a level 7 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon for the rest of the turn, except for Flower Cardian monsters. If this card's normal or special summon, you can reveal any number of Flower Cardian monsters in your hand, shuffle them into the deck, then draw the same number of cards. While there may be some specific Flower Cardian monsters that you may not be able to use, depending on, which ones you have in your hand, and what cards are on the field at that time, you can use Zebra Grass to at least recycle those cards back into the deck and hopefully draw some other needed Flower Cardian cards. Also 3 copies of Flower Cardian Willow. While you control level 10 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you have the same Flower Cardian summon restriction. Once per turn, you can target 1 Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck, and then draw 1 card. So if you have that graveyard Flower Cardian, you have the recycle power for more draw, at least giving you more of a draw plus, while Zebra Grass gave you more of the recycle power. And then you just have the draw reveal off of Pine. So this is the draw aspect that I mentioned before with the cards. With the last of the, I would say, easier Flower Cardian monsters to summon out, being Flower Guardian Paulownia. While you control level 11 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, having the same summoning restrictions, and when it's targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, end the battle phase, and draw 1 card. One of the better ones you want to leave on the field as more of a defensive Flower Cardian monster, because then you can just end the battle phase and draw a card off of it as well, making it so your opponent stop that 1 attack going against you, as long as you have this card on the field to do so. Some of the other 3-ofs for the Flower Cardians include 3 copies of Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom with Curtain. With this card, it cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by its own effect. You can reveal this card in your hand, draw 1 card. If you do, show it, then special summon this card. Then, if the drawn card is a Flower Cardian monster, otherwise, send it to this card to the graveyard. During either player's damage step, when your Flower Cardian monster battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card. Your battling monster gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. So this is your playstyle for setting up your Flower Cardians as more of a damage calculation honest effect to then protect them from battle depending on the Flower Cardian monster you have. There are a good number of synchro monsters that have some high attack for the Flower Cardian lineup, while some have sort of a lower Flower Cardian effect, and you could use this more to the benefit to send off to gain that extra attack boost. And then also the 3 copies of Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom. If you control level 2 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon for the rest of this turn, except for Flower Cardian monsters. Once per turn, you can tribute 1 Flower Cardian monster to draw 1 card. If you do, show it. Then if it's a Flower Cardian monster, you can take 1 Flower Cardian monster from your deck, except for Cherry Blossom, and you add to your hand or special summon it, giving you that search power that I mentioned before for some of your other Flower Cardian cards. But being a 100 attack, 100 defense Flower Cardian monster as well, you could also use it off of the Flower Gathering card, which beforehand we only had the 4 monsters that were on the card, including Willow, Paulownia, Pine, and Zebra Grass, to be able to add off this play, but having 1 additional monster definitely does help with that setup also. And then for some of the lower numbers for the Flower Cardians, 2 copies of Flower Cardian Maple with Deer, and 2 copies of Flower Cardian Clover with Boar, having the tribute option of a Flower Cardian monster with both of these cards to special summon it out onto the field. and then having a draw power, and if it's a Flower Cardian, show it to your opponent and then destroy one spell or trap if it's with Maple or Deer, or if it is with Clover with Boar, a monster. Some of the cards that you may want to recycle back if you go first with cards like Zebra Grass, because your opponent doesn't have these spell or traps, they really don't do much for their destruction power on the field, and that's why we're also just running the 2 of copy counts for them. Now, being a synchro deck, we do need the tuners for the Flower Cardians as well. One of the better tuners is the Flower Guardian. Do I keep saying Guardian? Cardian card, with the card not be with Peony with Butterfly. It cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by tributing 1 Flower Cardian monster, except for Flower Cardian Peony with Butterfly. If this card is special summon, draw 1 card. Then if you do, show it. Then if it's a Flower Cardian monster, look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Place them all on the top or bottom of the deck in any order. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. When this card is used as synchro material, you can treat it and all other synchro materials that have a level as level 2 monsters. So this is the level 2 adjustment that I mentioned before when you have those Flower Cardian monsters on the field. But also our other tuner is Flower Cardian Willow Calligrapher, having the tribute of a level 11 monster to summon this card onto the field for the tuner play. So the level 11 Flower Cardian monster that we want to summon out with this card is our Flower Cardian Willow, because then when we tribute this card, we can summon this card out, having the draw, and then special summon it if it is a Flower Cardian monster, giving us more and more resources on the field as well, and then being able to treat all of our other synchro monsters as level 2 materials, including this card. Now, that is it for the main deck monster lineup. You want to go with a good amount of different Flower Cardian monsters, so when you draw and reveal, there's a better chance to summon those cards, or at least summon the needed Flower Cardian monster off the draw. But for the spells that we do run, 3 copies of Flower Gathering. Special summon 4 Flower Cardian monsters with 100 attack and different names from your deck in attack position, but they have their effects negated. Also, they cannot be tributed for the tribute summon. You can only activate 1 Flower Gathering per turn. You cannot no more special summon other monsters during this turn, except for Flower Cardian monsters. But once again, the needed setup to get your 4 Flower Cardian monsters, and then the needed special summon for one of the tuners that may be in your hand as well, to then use those monsters on the field for the synchro summon of choice. Also, the 3 copies of Recardination. With this card, target 1 Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Then you can special summon 1 Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a Flower Cardian monster effect, you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck. If you do, you can add 1 excavated spell or trap to your hand and place the remaining cards on the top of your deck in any order. One of the cards that you may reveal off of your Flower Cardian card, but more of a benefit, because then you at least have the top 5 reveal to add another spell or trap to your hand. So very good search power while being the monster reborn for your Flower Cardians to begin with. And also the 3 copies of Flower Stacking. Choose 3 Flower Cardian monsters with different names from your deck. Place them on the top of your deck in any order during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. You can only use each of the following effects of Flower Stacking once per turn, but it literally does what the card says. Stacks the top of the deck with needed cards that you may need for your draw and reveal for your Flower Cardians. And also the 2 copies of Super Koi Koi. Excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. Special summon as many Flower Cardian monsters among them as possible, ignoring their summoning conditions, but their levels become 2, and they have their effects negated. Banish the remaining cards face down, and if you do, lose 1,000 life points for each. You can banish this card from your graveyard to tribute 1 monster to special summon 1 Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. So you have all the setup needed, having your 3 level 2 monsters for a single play if you reveal all Flower Cardian monsters, and one of them being a tuner as well, or just additional summoning just with the top 3 cards you reveal. And then also the 2 copies of Allure of Darkness and the 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army. Added draw power with Allure, and then with Reinforcements of the Army, just searching out the one of the more important Flower Cardian monsters that can be normal summoned out onto the field. And then as for the extra deck monsters, with the good majority of the extra deck being comprised of the Flower Cardian monsters, 3 copies of Flower Cardian Light Shower. Needing 1 tuner and 3 non-tuner monsters, it plays into the all level 2 monster play that you're meant to do with your Flower Cardians. Your opponent cannot target Flower Cardian monsters you control with card effects. Also, these monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. During your opponent's draw phase, if they draw a card for their normal draw, inflict 1,500 damage to your opponent once per turn. During your opponent's end phase, activate one of these effects. Skip the draw phase of your next turn. This card has has its other effects negated until the end of your opponent's next standby phase. So either you stop the effects of Light Shower or make it so you give up your draw. So then you have a bigger monster that's more difficult for your opponent to get around, and also the burn damage they continuously take. I also run the 3 copies of Flower Cardian Boardfly, one of our level 6 monsters we can summon in the deck. If a Flower Cardian monster you control attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent once per turn. You can banish 1 Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot activate a card or effects in the graveyard. Also, they cannot special summon from the graveyard, so more of an Abyss Dweller lockdown card for our synchro monsters in the form of a Flower Cardian, with also the 3 copies of Flower Cardian Moonflower Viewing. Along with this card being a synchro, it is also a tuner. Once per turn during your main phase, you can draw 1 card. And if you do, show it, and if it's a Flower Cardian monster, special summon it. Ignoring its summoning conditions, it can attack directly this turn. If you activate this effect, you skip the draw of your next turn, and when this card uses a synchro material, you can treat it and all the synchro material as level 2 monsters. So very similar to the other tuners in the deck, but if you go into this card using cards like Super Koi Koi, revealing the 3 Flower Cardian monsters in the tuner, then you have this card just to continue the draw power as well. And then I have the 1 copy of Flower Cardian Light Flare, being our bigger 5,000 attack point monster that can also get out our other Cardian monsters when it leaves the field, but still a bigger monster requiring, the 5 level 2 monsters on the field to be able to summon this card out. If you want to run an additional copy of this card, you can drop one of the Link monsters down. I have the 1 Anima, the 1 Almirage, the 1 Nightmare Cerberus, the 1 Cross Sheep, and the 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice as just extra Link monster spots. A lot of the times when you use the card effects, you will not be able to go into your Link monsters this turn. A lot of times you can use Anima just with the Pine you may have normal summoned out, since it doesn't have summon restrictions, but all the other ones you'll summon out most of the time on the following turn after you have your Flower Cardian monsters on the field, and you don't have any more summon restrictions because of them either. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the Flower Gathering sets up a good amount of special summoning, just giving you the special summon of your 4 Flower Cardian monsters with the 100 attack onto the field with different names. So as you see, it shows the 4 cards in the actual card, so easiest way to know which ones you can summon out with this card without even checking the attack stats. And then for some of your main plays, you just need a tuner in your hand to then use as well. And then with this, if you tribute one of them, you can summon out your Peony with Butterfly. And then with this card, by tributing the Flower Cardian monster, if it's special summon, draw 1 card, show it. And if it's a Flower Cardian monster, look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So if you draw an additional Flower Cardian monster, you then have the added play of being able to potentially summon one of those monsters out onto the field for an additional summon. If you don't, then you at least have your tuner to then use for the synchro play of choice. You can use it and 2 of the other monsters to get out a level 6 Flower Cardian. You can use all 4 of them to summon out the level 8. And if you happen to reveal a Flower Cardian that can be summoned out onto the field for its play, you have the 5 monsters to then be able to summon out your level 10 Flower Cardian monster. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just like I said, a quick update to a very fun synchro deck. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.